Welcome to Soltron. This is a video review for Tobot Y. Here's a look at his box. It's not really anything special. You've probably seen this kind of box a dozen times if you collect Korean robots. And then the directions, black and white with the red steps, also nothing special there. The box also comes with this little cardboard stand at the bottom, but I'm not really going to dig that out. The size comparison, so he is that kind of standard Tobot size now. And then here is with like Power Rangers and a leader class transformer, so he's significantly bigger than the leader class. And here's the 360 view. Overall, I would say I do like his aesthetics, but he also comes off as pretty generic. That's probably because he is like the original Tobot. But you can see like his head details, his body details, like nothing really sticks out. He just looks like kind of, if you blend all the Tobots together, you kind of get this guy. And then even his head sculpt here is kind of like a typical ninja looking robot head. It's got that like head crest and a mask. It's just very, overall, I would say like his aesthetics are probably like a 7. He's just kind of like an average, maybe slightly above average looking robot. There's just nothing that really pops about him. His colors are pretty standard. Everything's like very generic looking, unfortunately. I would say like he does have a slightly different Tobot aesthetic because he's got a lot of like spiky little parts. You don't usually see that on Tobots. So like these rounded bits, that kind of like angle into spikes. But if you compare this figure with something like Tachyon or even this guy, Classic, like this guy just radiates like personality, and this guy just looks very standard. This guy is like a less stylish form of Tachyon, but he does have one thing that I really enjoy, and that's like his little core robot gimmick. So I think this like kind of saves him from being just like a robot that I sell right away. So you just open up his chest here, and then he's got this core-roid robot which comes out. He looks like this, and then you have to open up his head here and swap out the face. And you get like this cute little core robot which basically pilots this body as like a mech suit. And then the robot, this little guy has terrible articulation. Like his shoulders are like in the middle of his bicep, so that's unfortunate. And then he's got pivoting head, and that's it, no ball joint. And then that's all his articulation. There's nothing else happening here. And then you can load him back into the main body, and he's just held on by this clip here. So you just shove him in, lower his chest armor, and then he's all ready to fight. And then you can see what he looks like with his cute face. So I think that's a pretty cool gimmick. I think that does add to his play value compared to other Tobot figures. But yeah, so for articulation, his articulation is like a typical Korean robot, unfortunately. So he is missing like some key articulation. He does have swiveling head. He does have a good outward motion on his shoulders, ratcheted forward and backwards, like a soft ratchet there and a hard ratchet on the outward motion. He does have elbow joint, which goes pretty much 180 degrees. So full elbow, and no wrist articulation, no waist articulation. And then he does have a full outward kick, full forward kick, and then full ratcheted backward kick, and thigh swivels. And then for his knees are a little bit weird. They come up here, and then you can get 90 degrees on the knees because then this wheel blocks it. But if you move this wheel out of the way, you can actually get 180 degrees on his knees too. So you can get some really cool dynamic looking poses out of him just because his arms fold up pretty well, and his legs have really good articulation, so he can actually pull off some really cool poses. The things that he's missing that you get with a standard transformer these days is like a ball joint neck would be nice. Still no bicep rotation. I don't know what the deal is. You can get like this butterfly joint, but he does not have a bicep, which I don't know what the resistance is at this point. And then he also doesn't have rocking ankles either, which does make posing him a little bit difficult, because he if you try to splay out his feet, he's just not going to stand right, and you can't fix that with his feet. So now he's like leaning forward a lot, so you can't really get him in like as many poses as you'd like, really. You'd have to have like a stand or something to help hold him up. But overall, pretty pleased with his articulation. It's kind of the bare standard for Korean figures though. So transforming this guy is really simple. You're going to fold his fist down here, back into his forearm, and then do the same for the other side. And then you can just rotate these arms forward using those butterfly joints. And then you're going to go ahead and collapse the legs together and start pegging everything together. You can peg together his knee pads. And then you fold in the heels, fold out the tires, fold up the toes, and then you can see you've got pretty much most of the car ready to go. And then you have to have the wing pack here turned all the way around to get him ready to transform. And then I did forget to like fold up his whole chest. So you got to open this up so it can clear the head. And then that will fold into the hood section. And then you're always going to do these wheels, and this section is always going to be last. You do have to do this guy in order, otherwise all these parts will just get in the way and you won't be able to transform him. So he is a little bit more tricky than some other Tobot figures. And then you can just fold up the back knee pads here. And then you're going to fold up these side panels, which are on the arms, that I forgot to do. And then you just fold down this section, and then finally the wheels here. So same thing for transforming them back into robot mode. You got to start with the front wheels, and this backpack section has to be done first. And then you can see the core robot can just hang out the whole time, but you can also take him out. So it's cool that he can be included during transformation, and then you can see what he looks like compared to the car mode, which is pretty cool. He's actually kind of pretty much child size. He can't even really reach the door handles. So he's actually very, very tiny and cute. I think that's pretty cool. So then now you got robots that are in scale with maybe the main characters in the show, which is a pretty cool idea. He can't get in the car, of course, because there's just no space in here. It's all full of robot parts. There's really no extra place to put a robot, so he can only fit down here. But I think he looks pretty cool. He actually almost scales with 3 3/4 inch figures, which is like what these deluxe motorcycles are made for. So, but a Batman figure I had earlier just like is way too big. There's no way he could sit and look like he'd fit in this car. So this is a little bit out of scale, unfortunately. But all the Deltatron cars pretty much scale perfectly, and they have that kind of chunky SD aesthetic. So they actually look really good together. I really appreciate that, and that makes me enjoy this figure a lot more. I probably won't buy either of the other two, X or Z. They just didn't really appeal to me. I think this guy was the best looking of the set. But the quality, of course, is a 10 as always. And then here we go. Here's the Batman I was talking about earlier. So even if you sit this guy down, it's clear that he does not look like he belongs in this vehicle at all. Human Alliance would probably be a little bit closer. But anyway, I got this guy on Gmarket. He was like $35 and then pretty much another $35 for shipping. It's kind of a bad time to import toys. The shipping costs are pretty outrageous. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that review, and I'll see you in the next one.